Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly incredible story, one where true crime slams right into a staggering scientific breakthrough. We're looking at a case that sat completely frozen in Stockton, California for over 3 decades, only to be blown wide open by technology that literally didn't even exist when the crime happened. It's just a profound testament to the unstoppable march of forensic science, and honestly, it proves that evidence never truly expires. Imagine just living your life freely, walking the streets of your city completely undetected for 32 years. Now imagine being arrested for a brutal double murder at the age of 80. Well, that's exactly what went down in April of 2026. This number right here, 80, that's the age of the man who was just taken into custody for a horrific crime committed all the way back in 1994. It's a shocking reality, right? It immediately makes you ask, how on earth did he hide in plain sight for so long, and what finally brought him down? As San Joaquin County District Attorney Ron Freitas so powerfully put it at a recent press conference, justice may have been delayed, but it was never forgotten. This quote really forms the emotional core of our explainer today. It's a stark reminder that behind all the complex DNA science and the decades of waiting, there's a profound human tragedy. To really grasp the magnitude of this 2026 arrest, we have to travel back 32 years to the night that shattered two families forever. Part 1. The Victims and the Crime. May 1994, Stockton, California. Let's shift our focus to the industrial city of Stockton back in May of 1994 and meet the two young men whose lives were so violently cut short. There are just these heartbreaking parallels between our two victims, Lawrence Larry Loehr and Eugene Peanut Cates. Both of these childhood best friends were only 23 years old. Both were engaged to be married to the women they loved, and tragically, both were studying criminal justice together at San Joaquin Delta College. Larry had already passed the Stockton Police Department entrance exam, and Peanut had passed the State Correctional Officer exam. And this brilliantly illustrates their shared dreams, two young men with the exact same goal of wearing law enforcement uniforms and protecting their community. So let's walk chronologically through the chilling timeline of May 23, 1994. At 1 a.m., Peanut finishes his shift at a local gas station and heads over to visit Larry. Larry was working a part-time night security job at the Spanos Park construction site, which, at that hour, was dark and totally deserted. Now, sometime between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., a violent, chaotic attack erupts. Inside the security trailer, Larry is found tied, gagged, and shot in the back of the head. It was a highly controlled execution. Outside, Peanut suffers a completely different fate. He's stabbed and then run over by a vehicle. By 3 a.m., the police received the assault report. And just a few hours after that, Peanut's own car, which the killer used to literally smash through the site's chain-link fence to escape, is found 3 miles away. It was abandoned and deliberately set on fire. Part 2. 3 decades of silence. A 32-year dead end. After that horrific night, the Stockton Police Department hit a massive, incredibly frustrating wall. Let's look at exactly why the trail went completely cold back in '94. First off, robbery was ruled out almost immediately. Absolutely nothing of value was taken from the site or the victims. Second, because it was a dark construction site, there were 0 witnesses, no security cameras either. Third, the killer was somehow calm enough to drive the victim's car 3 miles away and torch it, meticulously erasing any fingerprints or contact traces. But the biggest hurdle of the whole shebang, there was absolutely 0 connection or conflict between the victims and the killer. Without a link, those 1994 detectives had absolutely no thread to pull. It was, unfortunately, a perfect dead end. And that dead end lasted for 32 agonizing years. It's absolutely crucial that we acknowledge the profound human cost of that wait. 32 years of silence meant that the parents of both Larry and Peanut grew old, got sick, and ultimately passed away without ever knowing who took their sons. They left this world with the biggest question of their lives still hanging there, totally unanswered. Time didn't just pass, it actively stole closure from the people who loved these young men the most. Part 3. The 2025 DNA Breakthrough. Science catches up. But here's the thing. The Stockton PD never actually closed the file. In September 2025, a cold case task force sent the 31-year-old preserved evidence to Loehr, which is a specialized DNA lab in Texas.
So the crucial point is understanding the specific technology that changed the game: forensic-grade genome sequencing. The DNA from the scene was extremely degraded. We're talking sub-nanogram amounts, quality so poor that ordinary forensic labs couldn't even touch it. But forensic-grade genome sequencing is this new generation of technology that can build a comprehensive genetic profile from these tiny, heavily damaged traces. This capability simply did not exist in 1994. It didn't exist in 2000, and it wasn't even around in 2010.
Let's walk through the step-by-step genetic genealogy process that actually turned this degraded sample into a real-life suspect. First, Othrum's team miraculously built that complete DNA profile from the heavily degraded scene evidence. Next, they searched commercial genealogy databases, the ones where millions of Americans have voluntarily submitted their DNA. Third, they found distant relatives of the suspect and meticulously mapped out family trees. It's like a giant genetic puzzle. Fourth, investigators started eliminating individuals based on age, gender, and geography. And finally, this rigorous process of elimination narrowed the whole list down to a single name pulled right out of the shadows: Donald Lee Clark.
Part 4. The Arrest and Aftermath. April 25, 2026.
With a name in hand and direct forensic confirmation finally secured, we reach a truly staggering reality. 80-year-old Donald Lee Clark lived freely in Stockton for 32 years. I mean, just think about that for a second. He was a 48-year-old middle-aged man at the time of the murders. After the crime, he didn't flee the state. He didn't change his identity. He just continued living a completely normal life right under the community's nose, walking those exact same streets. And throughout that entire 32-year investigation, he never once appeared on a suspect list or a detective's radar, simply because there was no prior connection to the victims. Unbelievable. When the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force finally made their move and arrested him at his home, the profound, bittersweet relief for the surviving family was palpable. Monica Granados, Larry's fiancée, who literally waited her entire adult life for answers, expressed it so perfectly. She said, "It's not fair at all. Life has been rough. We all waited for this moment." On April 24, 2026, the families gathered in the courtroom just to watch an 80-year-old Clark, sitting in a wheelchair and wearing orange scrubs, plead not guilty to the double homicide. The grief is for sure still painfully present, but finally, so is the accountability.
Part 5. Real-world lessons. Takeaways for today.
While the legal process is still in the pre-trial phase as of mid-2026, let's shift gears from the historical tragedy to the actionable takeaways for us today. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these vital safety and investigative lessons are derived directly from the case. First, if you work in an isolated night environment, establish simple check-in texts. Just a quick "I'm safe" message can make a massive difference. Second, businesses absolutely must invest in security cameras and emergency comms. The total lack of cameras at Spanish Park was devastating for those early investigators. Third, this whole case is undeniable proof that law enforcement must perpetually preserve unsolved case evidence. Because guess what? The technology of 2035 is going to unlock what 2025 cannot. And finally, families of victims need to know they can seek free genetic genealogy support through organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If 31-year-old, heavily degraded DNA can successfully catch a killer who had seamlessly hidden in plain sight for over 3 decades, what other forgotten cold cases in your own community are just waiting for the right technology to finally uncover the truth? The march of forensic science is unstoppable. Criminals can no longer just rely on the passage of time, and justice, it seems, has no expiration date. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.